Okay. Yeah. Whoever is in the hackathon, if you guys can turn on your cameras, that would be great. Everybody who's participating in today's hackathon, if you guys can turn on your cameras, that would be great. So, so let's review what today's agenda is. So first, we're going to start off with the introduction part, and we have our guest speaker here from 12:15 to 12:30. And then from 12:30 to 2, you guys have the chance to work on this hackathon and submit your solutions on this document. Yeah, let me just make sure you guys have this document up. If you guys need it, I will put it in the chat after I review everything. So, so first, let's start off. So this hackathon aims to provide hands-on experience with the AI instructions. So there are 3 challenges in here. Puzzle 1.1, which you will tackle the challenge of connecting a live API to random text data. This will test your ability on the real-time data streams and API integration. Puzzle 1.2, you'll bring the text to life by implementing the text-to-speech function, which ensures that the fetching sentence is spoken out loud to people. And puzzle 1.3 here, bring the text. Yeah, so we have 3 puzzles, and yeah, so the puzzle 1.3 is the function to transcribe audio to analyze emotion. So this is the 1.3 here. So that is our schedule and how this hackathon is going to work. And then we have our bonus questions. These are marked but optional, but this is very highly recommended as this is kind of like a challenging hackathon, and if you guys would do the bonus, you'd get more points in order to place yourselves in like the top positions for winning chances. So for this hackathon, you can use any software, any programming language, but Python would be preferable, but any programming language would do so. Yeah, you can use any environment as well, whether you're coding in Python, JavaScript, Java, or any other language, which could be applied to complete this hackathon. So coming on to the rules here. So ensure that most people would use Google Colab, but you guys can use anything you want. And then make sure that your cameras are on always, so we know what you're doing and how you're progressing through the hackathon. And make sure you guys stay muted throughout the hackathon. If you guys have any questions, you guys can shout it out. But make sure if you guys don't have any questions, you guys stay muted. And please do not use any AI tools, as we like your actual minds to be thinking throughout the hackathon. And then the submission deadline today would be 2 to 2:30 p.m. So you guys can make sure that you have it submitted by then, and keep an eye on the clock, and make sure you guys have fun while doing this, as this challenges your level of thinking and how you guys progress through the challenge. So now moving on to our guest speaker, Aninod.
Sure, Monish. And just a note, like the submission time is 2 p.m. EST or CST?
2 p.m. EST. Yeah.
2 p.m. EST. Okay, got it. Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, okay. Hey everybody. Ninad here. Thanks Monish for giving me the platform to talk here. For some context, I'm Coach Joe's son, and I've kind of been in the AI space after college for a little bit. And I wanted to talk to you guys for a little bit of time today about AI, right? Because this is an AI-based hackathon, and maybe a little bit about my background, and you can also field any questions. So cool, yeah. In high school, took a AP computer science course. Really liked coding. It was a big awakening for me. So after that course, decided to major in computer science in college. Applied to some colleges. Ended up going to Georgia Tech. And at Georgia Tech, they have a huge AI focus, right? So I got to kind of dive in to AI, take a lot of classes all the way from artificial intelligence, where you go talk a lot about like path planning for robotics. I also took a robotics path planning course. Machine learning, where you learn about the basics of you know the fundamentals of machine learning and how that functions. Deep learning and all those fun classes. So there's a lot of AI is a huge field now, very, very, very popular and in high demand. So it's great that everybody here is, getting interested in AI. So cool, yeah. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about was, okay, like in school you learn a lot about theory, right? The theory of AI, how AI functions in theory in terms of mathematics behind it, the calculus, how people discovered the equations and a lot of the fun stuff behind AI. That's cool, right? A lot about AI now is application, right? And machine learning is about application. What do I mean by application? Well, oftentimes the models that are the best, right, are given to you, right? And kind of like what I wanted to talk about here was it's really important to know the fundamentals of AI. If you're interested in AI, I think it's a fantastic field to go into, right? But if you're interested in the in AI itself, of course, it's important to know the fundamentals. But more importantly, it's really important to understand like integration. And I can give you an example of how integration really works. So when I was at Georgia Tech, I did an internship at Amazon. And like my first internship, I was in an AI team. This team was focused on customer forecasting. So what does that mean? That means that given all the data that you get in Amazon, they track a lot of things, right? They track how much stuff you've purchased, at what frequency you've purchased, right? It's all compiled into features, which are basically things that are used for the AI to get data and make predictions, and pass through machine learning pipelines, right? And basically, like the goal at this part for Amazon, they do a lot of AI, but specifically this customer forecasting team was how can we predict based on current customer data their future revenue from a customer, right? So if Monish, buys, three, I don't know, what's an example of something, but a lot of stuff you can buy on Amazon. Three face washes, right? Um, and, let's say two Amazon Echoes, right? In the past 30 days. How much money do you think in terms of revenue Monish will bring us over the past year, right? And we use, really, really state of the art, brand new machine learning models, right? So it was a really, really fun team. But I wasn't the one working on theory. And in fact, only a very, very small subset of people actually worked on the actual models, right? In fact, economists worked on the models. They use econometric models and stuff like that to predict revenue, right? Because it's a very economic thing. So the actual economists were the ones working on the models, which is funny, right? And the actual software and computer science people were the ones working on integration, right? Now, what does integration mean? Integration means how you can take the machine learning and stuff in practice, in theory, and kind of build it in practice, right? With the AI models, you're gonna write in Colab and Python for this hackathon, right? You can run it a few times, right, and it'll work. How will it work when there's 100 million people you have to run the model through, right? How will it work when you have to compile the data of 100 million people and put it through a model, just like we did at Amazon, right? How is it going to work when you for the computing power, right? To manage the compute to run these models for that level of scale, right? And that's where pipelines and parallelization for data and data cleaning and stuff all comes into play, right? But the main thing I want to tell you about is that a lot of the work of AI is there. A lot of the work of AI is more in the integration aspect, right? So if you're really interested in building new models, which is a fantastic area to go to, you can go on the track of academia for the most part, right? Getting your PhD, master's, and kind of building state of the art. You can build the newest and latest and greatest AI models, write research papers, and basically as soon as you release that paper, everybody's going to start using your models, right? You can go that track. The other track is in integration, right? Is how can we take these models in theory, right, that people release through research papers and stuff like that, and apply it in companies, right? So that was at Amazon, and now I work full time at Moderna. So the first kind of just to summarize real quick, the first lesson I want to bring you is if you're interested in AI is not just about creating models. It's about integration. It's about making sure that they work in practice. So that's one thing I want you to think about is, if you're, it seems that everybody here is interested in AI careers, think about integration, right? Because that's really where companies struggle, right? You can copy and paste basically all the models from research, and maybe you have a few AI engineers, in terms of adapting that model, right? But the models are kind of already there in research papers. It's really about bringing them to fruition in practice. But okay, that's the first step. Um, and now I work at Moderna, so the pharmaceutical company. Um, and I work mainly on infrastructure and stuff for a lot of our software, right? So how can we support, maintain, scale infrastructure for a lot of the clinical trial software we have, for a lot of the cancer vaccine scheduling software we have. So there's a lot of cool areas that I have the opportunity to work on. It's really fun. But the first lesson was integration, focus on integration. Second one was make sure you not only think of AI in really small corridors or really small tunnels. By that I mean um, pay real attention to where you can apply AI. There's a lot of really cool, fun places, and really important places where AI still isn't a thing, and you can make that a thing. An example of that, I love giving examples, is at Moderna, right? You might think, okay, where the heck does AI play into a pharmaceutical company, right? They develop drugs, right? Why does that matter for AI, right? Well, Moderna specifically, right? They focus on mRNA vaccines, messenger RNA, right? Which basically, as a quick synopsis, is a single-stranded like molecule that allows basically it's the instruction set for your body to create proteins, right? And that's kind of the for Pfizer and Moderna, uh, that was kind of the main technology used to build the COVID vaccines, right? Was okay, we can give you the instructions for mRNA, right? And tell your body to create the outer proteins for COVID, the spike packs, right? The spike proteins for COVID, the outer proteins for COVID, so that your immune system can recognize those outer proteins and fight against it, right? That's basically kind of the quick synopsis of how mRNA works. But in any case, right? mRNA, as you might know in biology class, just like DNA, is a set of four uh, nucleotides, right? Adenosine, guanine, etc., right? And these strands are really long, right? So think about the combinations, right, of all the different types of nucleotide combinations you can have for an mRNA, right? You can have, I think, 10 to the power 60 was the number they threw out. Different types of combinations for a single-stranded mRNA, right? And again, so how it worked previously in pharmaceuticals was they kind of had to individually look at the most stable ones, the ones that code for the correct proteins and stuff, individually, manually, through Excel sheets and stuff like that to choose the best mRNA molecule to manufacture and build, right? Because billions, trillions, and trillions of the same of mRNA molecules can code for the same protein, right? But some mRNA molecules are better than others, right? Some are more stable, some of them are easier to manufacture, things like that, right? So how do we choose the best one? That problem was a really tough problem for Moderna, right? And it can be solved through AI, right? So we have algorithms and types of really cool AI models that can basically help us figure out the best mRNA, right? The best mRNA. So there's a lot of like that's when I come into pharmaceuticals, you think, okay, like where the heck does drug manufacturing come into play for AI? But it's a real use case, right? And it's basically just the main idea I wanted to bring forth here is there's so many unfound use cases for AI, right? So find them. Find a way to build for AI. Find a way to develop new frontiers for AI. Right? Really a lot of cool things. I have buddies of mine who work on AI for education. Right? With Flint, it's a Y Combinator backed startup. Right? There's a lot of cool AIs for that. There's AIs for fashion. Right? I know a good set of people who work on fashion startups like Fia. Fia is a really good startup, friend of mine, and I think she co-founded it with Bill Gates' daughter. So a lot of cool, really frontiers of AI, right, that you can focus on. So make it a point to not be closed-minded with AI, right? Really think and stretch your imagination because there are a lot of cool things to do, right? So that's the first two things I wanted to talk about. The third thing, right, I really wanted to bring up was AI is ever changing, right? And people always say, "Oh yeah, we have new stuff developing. Oh, we have these new models," and you're like, "Cool, whatever," right? But with that, and this is true of computer science as well, so you have to really be careful, right? Um, Basically, in a span of a few months, you can become a dinosaur with technology, right? What you thought was the cutting edge a few months ago isn't the cutting edge anymore, right? And give you all a good example, like uh, React and Angular, right? So React and Angular are front end frameworks, right? Which are, you know, basically help you develop UI, right? User interfaces for companies, right? When you type in google.com, the UI that you see is built by Angular, right? So these are front end frameworks, so languages essentially, in a simple term, that help us develop front ends. The languages that pretty much 99% of companies use now weren't the same languages that people used 10 years ago for front end frameworks. Think about it, 10 years, pretty much every application that you see has pretty much shifted gears to the newest, the latest and greatest in front end frameworks, React and Angular for the most part, right? React was developed by Facebook, Angular is developed by Google, right? Um, so with that, like the front ends you saw 10 years ago, right, aren't the front ends that you still see today, right? Because of that change in framework design, right? But if you're a dinosaur and 10 years ago, you're like, I love a really kind of PHP. I love these technologies. I'm gonna stick with it for the rest of my life. It's not really going to be helpful or useful now, right? Because those technologies are just not used anymore. No company wants a developer for COBOL or some of these really old. Well, a few companies do, but very few these older languages. Very few companies really need that support, right? Same is true for AI. Same is true for AI. Transformers and LLMs and stuff like that are a product of research that has just released in a few years, right? If you look at AI 10 years ago, it was nowhere near this level. It was basically at the prediction level, right? And there are some, there's some mechanisms for what they call attention, which is really like the foundation for how LLMs and transformers work, right? Which is like the latest and greatest in machine learning. But those mechanisms really weren't developed 10 years ago, right? Or even I think it was 5 years ago. Like I think that's when it just started being released, right? And LLMs, as you imagine, right? 2 years ago, really that's when ChatGPT was released to the public, right? Um, Now it's a staple, right? But if you look at 3 years ago, we were all still Googling stuff, right? Um, so what does this mean for us, right? I kind of brought forth that AI is ever changing, but what does this mean for us? It means that as you go in your career, don't be a dinosaur, right? Be willing to learn, be willing to completely do a 180 in what you know, right? That's about most importance, right? Because again, you need to be on the cutting edge if you want to have meaningful work, right? An example of that is I know so many companies. Like I have buddies of mine work in machine learning. I work more on the infrastructure side, right? As in, mentioned integration with not only applications but machine learning. But I have a lot of buddies of mine who work on the actual machine learning, right? Whether it be at Apple, at Google, at all those big FANG companies or even startups, right? A lot of close friends do. So what they've told me is that every single week, right? Um, their entire team carves out, or every other week, whatever cadence, right? But very often, consistently, their entire team carves out a few hours to read. What does that mean? It means going to Google Scholar or going to whatever research paper uh, database that you have, right? And filtering by the last 2 weeks, right? And reading those papers on machine learning, right? Because in order for you to develop the most impactful AI, you need to use the latest and greatest, right? You need to use the technology that is going to be industry breaking, right? And with AI, that happens like pretty much every month or two, right? So if these companies, right, really make it a point, and all these PhDs and stuff like that, really make it a point to learn about about the newest of AI, whether it be the research paper reviews or talking with experts or going to conferences, right? That means that we should as well. right? We should carve out some time to really make sure that our understanding of AI is current, right? And our understanding of machine learning is cutting edge, right? Yeah, that's kind of the big three pillars I wanted to talk about here. But I wanted to open up the last kind of 5 minutes here to bring up any questions that you have about my experiences. We can talk more about what your interests are, whatever it is. I want to keep it open, and feel free to tell me anything. I have no preference. Feel free, ask away.
Hi, Nad. I just want to ask something. Probably some students are kind of shy to ask right now, so I'll go ahead and ask you a question.
Awesome.
But yeah, just for everybody's sake, especially for those who just came in, we have here our AI expert, Nad. He is the son of Coach Joe, our CEO, but at the same time he's an AI expert, and as he mentioned, he's working in Moderna right now. So I just have a quick question for the rest of the students here, especially for our middle school and high school students here. What do you think are the skills that high school students like them should focus on if they really want to pursue a career in AI? As you've mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities out there for AI. So, what do you think are those skills that they should start focusing on as of now?
Yeah, fantastic question, Laura. Yeah, and thanks for the forum. Like when I think about like how I could have prepared myself, um, going to college and stuff, learning about AI, or doing my master's and stuff, learning about AI. There's a few things I think about, right? Um, the first is if you want to be really good at something, even if it's on the outer edge, right? Integration and stuff like that, right? Where I don't really focus necessarily on the actual models, but I work on integrating them, right? But in any case, if you want to be really good at a field, you have to know that field in and out, right? And you have to be really comfortable with the technology, even if it's something that you don't necessarily work on directly, right? Um, for example, like in the field of biology, right? If I want to work on computational science, which a lot of biologists do, right? Um, and I'm in data science, so let's say I'm working on data stuff for mRNA, right? It's really hard for me to know what to do if I don't know the biology, right? If I have no idea how an mRNA molecule works, I have no idea how a drug works and goes through the system. How am I going to analyze the data, right? It's impossible, right? So when I hark back to high school, right, it's important to be strong in the fundamentals so that even though you might be working on something in the outside, whether it be integration or whatever, you are very strong. You know exactly what's going on, right? And what does that mean for high schoolers? I don't think you necessarily need to, go deep into deep learning, right? Because that's something you can learn during college when you take courses and stuff, right? But what's the fundamental of deep learning? It's mathematics, right? It's being really strong in your math and calculus in multivariable calculus, which you will probably take in college, in discrete mathematics, in linear algebra, right? All these are kind of pillars of AI, right? So you need to be really strong in those fundamentals because that's how you have to know the math before you learn the equations, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is be really familiar with coding and how, the best practices of coding, whether it be through Python, through Java, through JavaScript. Once you know one programming language, like, and you know it really, really well, the what's it called? The translation between other programming languages is fairly easy. It's fairly trivial. So be really strong in programming and coding, right? Take some courses, take Java courses, take Python courses. Get yourself familiar with coding because it'll help if you do computer science in college. It'll really help if you have a background in coding. So because a lot of class assignments are all coding based. So it'll give you a really good head start. So those two things, right? Be really strong in the fundamentals of mathematics so you can learn the theory of AI, so you can apply AI, right? It's a kind of a multi-step system. And then be really strong in coding. And I guess a subsidiary thing, which is really important, is be communicative, right? Be able to not only write your code but explain it, right? Because people want if you build a model that's really hard to explain, oftentimes it's hard to apply in practice, right? That's why explainability is really important in AI models, right? So be communicative and be willing to explain and kind of break things down, right? That's another kind of a subsidiary point. Cool. Yeah, thanks, Lori, for the question. Does anybody have anything else? We probably have time for like one more question. Don't be shy. Feel free to shoot anything my way while you have me.
So do you have any particular like courses for the students or me on how to like get started and like be on the track of AI?
Sure, sure. So in terms of math, like I think just paying attention in math class, I'm pretty sure all of you are probably going to finish out with BC and things like that, Calc BC. So I think starting, making sure that you really pay attention and review your notes in math, because all the BC stuff with calculus, and you probably don't take linear algebra in high school, but just general math fundamentals is important to brush up on, and you learn those in school. So be very familiar with those. In terms of coding, I think that's definitely where you can start taking some courses. I, for one, absolutely love Udemy and Coursera and stuff, right? I took those like religiously. Before every internship, I used to I worked on Angular, right, the front end framework. So before that internship, I took a long course in Angular so I could really brush up on, and that really like poised me for success in the internship. I ended up learning a lot and performing because of the fact that I had that background, right? And then when I was at Amazon, I brushed up on Spark, which is a big data analysis tool, right? So I took courses there, and then when I went to Moderna, I took courses on Kubernetes, which is like an infrastructure for software tool, right? So take courses, and in terms of specific courses, I like I mean, maybe we can share after the meeting, but there are a lot of good courses by Steven, I believe, um, on Python, and I definitely think understanding cloud is really important too. So taking courses and maybe getting certified in Amazon Web Services could be a really good start as well, because you need to know cloud in order for you to apply AI. So those two things. I think look on Udemy, look at the highest rated courses, brush up on your Python. When you do those courses, not only listen, but sit down there and type as well. The best way you can learn is by doing it, side by side, right? So don't just watch, apply it as well. That's one tidbit I would give you for courses. Cool. Anything else? I know we're a little bit over, but I can, I'm yours. Yeah, Avnish, you had a question?
Yeah. So, what courses in high school do you recommend going to that like really helped you?
Yeah, sure. So like in terms of like programming languages, the one thing I would say is that um, it might be helpful to learn one of the harder ones first, so the easier ones become easier later. So by that I mean like maybe learning Java first and then Python versus Python and then Java, because Java has a lot of structure. It's a little bit tougher to pick up, and there's some funky concepts, right, that might be tough to learn. So learn Java first, and then maybe you can move into Python. But if you want to jump in immediately, you can learn Python as well. But you need to know the fundamentals of big data of object-oriented programming. But the reason I say Java is because like in my specific high school, they offered an introductory Java course, and they offered AP Computer Science A, right? Which is
This meeting is being recorded.
I believe when I was in high school, it was in Java. So I recommend that course a lot. AP Computer Science was a really good really good start for me in terms of learning coding. It'll feel tough initially, but it'll get easier. I promise. Cool. Best of luck. Best of luck with the hackathon. Thanks again, Monish, for allowing me to talk for a little bit. Yeah. Good luck, everybody.
All right, everyone, can we just quickly give a round of applause, a virtual round of applause for Ninad as well? Thank you, Ninad.
Sorry, sweet. Sweet. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. See you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a nice hackathon. And let me know, Manish, if you have any questions.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay. So let's resume back to this hackathon. So puzzle 1.1, you're going to be pulling a string from the API. So what is AI, right? So AI is all about creating machines which can perform tasks and like require specific human intelligence. These tasks range from language recognition and making decisions to complex functions. And an API is an application programming interface, and which allows your computer to interact with other external services, such as you can connect like a weather system to your app and have like a weather API integrated into your code. Or you can use a free API like OpenAI Key, which can also be incorporated into your program in order to help you. So this is 1.1, and 1.2 is initializing the emotion detection model, where you guys will be answering a few questions here, and bonus as well, if you intend to do so. And in challenge 1.3, function to describe audio and analyze emotion. So this is the your tips for steps 1.3. And you write your code, you copy paste your code here, and also attach the screenshot of your model. And screenshot as in, like, when you guys have the working model, you guys should attach like the output. And this is the bonus question. This is a very it's a very hard question, so that's why it's 10 points rather than anything else here. So you guys can now get started on here, and I'll be on Zoom. So if you guys have any questions, you can just put a chat or just shout it out. And please turn on your camera so I know you guys are all here. I just sent the chat. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, you guys can just put in the chat, and I'll be right here. So yeah. For the person who joined in, if you can turn on your camera, I'll send you the link again in the chat. If anybody has any questions or any part they're confused about, don't hesitate to ask or just put it in the chat. So yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have a question on 1.1, a question
Second,
2.
let me just pull up 1.1. Yeah, 1.1.
Question 2.
Question 2. Okay.
So it says, why is it necessary to convert an audio file from MP3 to WAV format before transcription? I don't know if this is the correct answer, but I think it's because the pre-built model can only pull the transcription from the WAV file. So is that correct?
I mean, it's up to you. You'll be assessed, and we'll send you, like, we will judge you. So upon your response, so it's okay. Like, you can go and ahead and attempt for it. Like, it could be the right answer, it could not. I just can't really tell you right now.
Okay.
But you can attempt that question as much as you know, and we will assess on how much you know. So it doesn't really have to be like full on correct, but I will assess you on how much you know. Because this is just like and not everybody knows everything, so it's okay. Yeah, but
Okay,
just
thank
try
you.
your best. So yeah,
Okay.
Well, I have a question.
yeah.
What if you don't really have too much coding experience?
I would say try your best. Because this is kind of like a harder hackathon than we usually conduct. Um, so I would say try your best. There are sources which I have provided you. And I have also given you the so I've also given the tips, right? So make sure you use those tips, because that tips are actually very beneficial on how you write your code. So most of them will, like, the tips will tell you on what to do. So, but then if you get stuck on your coding and something's wrong, then I can help you with that. But yeah, so try your best. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Just a reminder, if everyone can turn on their cameras, that would be great. I just text me if you can't turn on or why. Yeah, if everyone can turn on the cameras, that would be great. All right, so we have less than 1 hour. We're close to the 40-minute time. So if you guys have any questions, make sure that you guys can ask so you guys can submit it on time. Yeah, I'm just here so you guys can ask any questions, or if you're stuck on any part. Okay, so we have 30 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, can I just know where everybody's at right now? Like what part or section? If you guys can put it in the chat, that would be great. Or if you guys have any questions, let me know. We have 30 more minutes. Okay, so we have 6 minutes left. Questions, feel free to ask, or if can I just know the status for Arnav and Avanish, of how much or how far they are? Feel free to unmute yourself and let me know.
Oh, what?
Can I just know, like, how far you are in the hackathon?
I submitted it.
Okay. You're free to leave if you're submitted. Yeah. And
Okay.
Arnav, can
Okay.
I know? Oh, okay. So Avanish is done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. All right.
Okay, bye. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yeah. So I think everybody left. I think we're done. Okay, yeah, I think everybody's done. So I think we can end the meeting here, right?
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Thank you. Yeah.